Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world to share their insight and expertise so we can all grow together. I am your host, Heidi Schalk, and the co-founder of the Spotlight to Scale Accelerator, where we help companies drive revenue by making sure they're seen as the expert and go-to authority in their industry versus just another product or service. And today I am thrilled to be talking with Christy Hamilton with Carrie & Co. So welcome, Christy, to the podcast.
Thanks. I'm so excited. I know I had said this too, but I'm like running around. I'm like, I got to do this really well. I can't wait to talk about all of these things. So I was able to listen to your podcast too over the last couple of days, and it resonates so well, like across all of these things that we're all trying to accomplish. So I'm happy to be here.
I am thrilled to have you. And I know this is going to be so high energy. You and I are very similar. We're high energy. So for you listening, just buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride and a fun one. So yes, thank you for being a yes to this, Christy. We're so grateful. And so kick us off, Christy. Can you tell us who you are, the company that you're with, and your role within it?
Yeah, 100%. So I am Christy Hamilton. I am currently the Chief Operating Officer at Carrie & Co., which is a nonprofit consulting firm. All of our clients are nonprofits. We help them with their accounting needs, their HR, operations, technology, fundraising. So we're really there to help these missions or the charities and nonprofits really fulfill their mission, which is like the good work of the world, right? So we're just here to help them to make the world better, really.
Can you share with us your role? What's it like being number two in the company, and what is the responsibilities that you have?
Everything, everybody's problem, your problem. You are tasked with not only understanding the problem very quickly and also solving it just as quickly. I think being the number two in a small business is not for the faint of heart. I think it is about being adaptable. I think it's about being resilient. And I honestly think, for me anyway, I love people. I have a long history or a long memory for people's preferences, what their stories are, and understanding who they are. So I think that's just like a fun passion for me, but it really does help me be a better COO. And I think the comprehensive understanding of who these people are, not only our staff and folks that work here, but who the clients are, what they're trying to also accomplish, are the comprehensive pieces of going, okay, well, if one is over here, what do I need on this side? And there's a lot of different ways that shows up for me in my job. What it has been for the last 5 years here at this company, it's been going from recruitment to sales, from marketing to systems and processes, to human resources and legal issues. And so you do really have to have a good sense of self. And your first episode actually really talks a lot about your self-esteem and how to better count that and to equate that into your current conversations, because sometimes you're never going to know all of the answers. And I think that is also important as a number two. I'm not always going to know the answers. I don't walk into my day having it fully planned, because it isn't. Because my job is really to be reactive at some pieces to what the people are telling me, and then be proactive in figuring out what those systems are, so that way it lessens the reactivity. But if you don't understand how to do both, this job will burn you out, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you are the go-to for the rest of everybody else in the company, because you are basically have that relationship with the CEO, right? With the head, and then everybody goes to you. So I can only imagine the stress, right? Like you said, you can burn out pretty quickly. So we talk more about owners exiting and private equity, because I know that that's a big piece of your business now.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us about what that is and what that looks like for you?
I'd love to, because I think so. A lot of my experience has been about dispelling myths. When I first started in my professional career, I was a nonprofit arts person. I was an actress. And now I find myself being the COO of this multi-million-dollar consulting firm, which cannot be more opposite in left and right brains. It also is completely different in metrics, outcomes, goals, and what you're responsible for. So I think when the private equity investment last year, we had taken private equity investment, I thought to myself, what does that mean for me, right? The owners have their own problems in all of the situations, but the focus is really on that. And so if you're a number two, you're sitting here going, okay, but what is my day-to-day going to look like? My job responsibilities and portfolio are already very big. And so what I've realized in going through this experience is that I wanted to dispel some of those myths for like another me somewhere else to say, okay, this is what I did learn during this process. And these were the pitfalls and these are the things that I thought I did really well, because I think it helps to say like, okay, this is reality, because private equity has so many things around it, right? Rumors, it has a negative connotation. And then if you also want to put the fact that my clients are only nonprofits, only charities, private equity is the worst. They don't want anything near that, right? It's what like kills the world. So for me, when I was going through it or going through this process, it was about like protecting my own interests, right? And having the lawyer to look through the employment contract. And that's what I would say to somebody else. Like, remember that there are new people in the room. I have a really good relationship with the founder and CEO. For most of my time here, it's been him and I, like hour on hour, being like, all right, what are we going to do in this situation? What if this happens? So there's so much troubleshooting and so much problem solving that you get used to working with like another person. Then all of a sudden private equity enters the room and you're like, okay, I got a whole bunch of overlords now. So how do I balance expectations and preferences and making sure that the business is still running in and with authenticity or in the integrity that it was started with all the new goals of like revenue and growth and KPIs and all of these words now that I know, like the biggest part. And so for me, it was like, make sure you understand your interests, make sure that you understand like what your role is, because the private equity firms can range from like single practitioners to large houses of thousands of people doing thousands of deals. So make sure that you understand what your business is actually representing to them, because you're never going to know as much as they do. They also have an ideal target company. So if you know that your business is going to run, or that you want this business to represent something, make sure your private equity partners also represent that. And I think that was an important piece to like the decision making in this whole process. But going from like a 2 million mom and pop shop to now we will be much larger and expected to be very large at the end of the year is really honestly learning how to fly the plane as you're building it.
Yeah, I can only imagine the flexibility that you get to lean into as far as navigating your day to day with private equity, and also the vision of what you all had at the beginning, you know, when you joined the team for your founder and CEO. And now you're the executor of both visions, right? So yeah, I can only imagine how your days are. So let's talk about that. How do you effectively balance the needs and preferences of different bosses while also keeping the organization running smoothly?
It is all about communication. And it is really, in this way, my memory is both a pro and a con, right? Because it's like, wait, I remember what you told me like Monday, 3 weeks ago at 8 o'clock, you told me X. And so now we're changing it. And I think having that long memory is the thing that helps you to go back and say, you know, I think in any company, you can chase the customer, you can chase the money. In nonprofits, we call that mission creep, right? Where you're just going to go out and start a new program so that way you can go and solicit more funds and donations. So it can be a pretty irresponsible thing to do. So when you have all of these different preferences and you have these different stakeholders in the room, it's going, okay, what is the core mission and the core value? And what are the things that live outside of that? And what are the things that are, and this is the thing that people don't think about, is like their personal preferences, right? We all come into the room with like our own baggage, our own perspective, our own way of doing things. And if you're not aware of those, your decision making is created by those own perspectives. So it's understanding that when the owner is across the table from me, that he has a different vision for this company when he started it 11 years ago versus where we're going today. Right. And understanding that his own like personal journey is also like a part of his day-to-day decision making. And private equity has a very similar thing. So if you can understand that people have their own madness to this business, is also how you then like convince and manage and can cajole people to say, okay, yes, I understand that this is the way that you would like to see it done. But if we do it this way, more people win in this situation. This is more in line with what the business is looking for. And I think and I was talking about this earlier this year about neutrality and walking into these situations with a neutralness, not a spinelessness, but a neutralness of going, okay, I understand that these are the different preferences. where is the ego and where is the actual work is a big piece of like how to balance what these parties want on any given day. And then I say all of that to say every day I wake up and I go, oh, the balance today, because it's definitely not the same, Monday through Friday.
Yeah. So I want to lean into that because just listening to you, I'm like, whew, she's a lot going on. There's only 24 hours in the day, right? And also you have your own life on this, you also have your own life and your own things that you get to have in your personal world. So how do you handle the additional workload that comes with leadership transitions while still managing your day-to-day responsibilities that you have?
Sure. And I think everybody always says this, it's your team, right? Make sure that you know who is around you and really trust them. I don't have a micromanaging piece to me. I move too fast. It's too like, well, we have to just make the action, a big action person, not so much of a process person. So my team really has to balance that out. So that my director of operations, my quality assurance director, my HR director has to be the people that like go, okay, if this is the direction that we're heading, here are the different pitfalls that we're going to have to look for during that time. I would also say every day I am also trying to manage that, like keeping my way up or keeping myself away from burnout, because it can be incredibly hard when you have all of these preferences and you're doing all of this work, not to let doubt creep in, not to have something like come in and go, oh my God, wait a minute, was that even a good solid decision? Because when you are making hundreds of decisions a day, I am lucky if 50% of them are on the target. You're like, oh man, I had a great day. I did 50% great. And I think that's the reality, right? I think people really lean in too much to saying, I'm 99% of the right, or I'm right all of the time. I don't think that's authentic to who we are or how we go through the world. And maybe there are people that are right all of the time. I would love to experience that in my life, but it hasn't been my journey so far. So being honest about that and being transparent with that with my team has also built the trust, because at some point I have to go make a decision, and if it's right or wrong, they have to help me clean it up. And you have to be able to say, like, I am only human too. I also am just coming here to do my job because it is money and a paycheck, and this is the work that I have decided to do. So I think understanding those priorities in and of myself and making sure that the team also understands that helps, because and this is a thought that I'm kind of working on myself. It's like, how do you make sure that there's sovereignty in your workplace, that you are a sovereign person? And I mean that work-life balance, that my actual personal life doesn't suffer at the hands of big corporation and big corporate growth. So how am I a sovereign person of myself, and how can my team be sovereign in all of these different preferences, that we're not pulled in 100 different directions, that it's like my director of HR understands that her mission is this, and no matter what the color of the day is, it doesn't change her ability to do her job.
There's so much that you said right there that's amazing. And communication, key, right? You hear that all the time, but people don't follow it. Communication is key, whether it's in your, and I know this is a business growth, but whether it's in your relationships or in whether it's personal or in your work life, communication is what's going to solve the problem, right? So that's what's going to help with conflict resolution. That's what's going to help you clean up messes, like you just said, and on being open and honest with your team. Like, we're all human and we get to be transparent about that. And you're making hundreds, like you shared, hundreds of decisions a day, and having a team that you trust has their lane, right? You've hired, you've spent time, you're communicating with them. And I'm sure that as you're making, maybe if you're having 50% the right decisions, there's 50% that maybe, okay, that didn't work. No big deal. You're also, it sounds like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, you all allow your team to fail too, which allows them to learn and grow, and them trusting that you've got them when that happens. And it's not going to be like, they're not going to be come down hard on. It's like, okay, how do we fix this? Let's not repeat that over and over and over again, but let's fix it to move forward. And that's what create less turnover, right? People who are on board with the vision that your founder, CEO, you have for the company. And I know, and that's what's going to drive successful clients in the process too, because it starts within, right?
For sure it does. And I think we have too many things to do day to day to get wrapped up in things that didn't work. It is really about like, all right, let's move on. Let's actionable steps. And I think it's an important piece when you find people that also work that way to really gel around, because then it's about the work. It's not about personal judgment. It's not about any of those other things that can really cloud things and make your work really miserable and not something that you want to do. And I don't think that's worth it. Like, we only get one trip around this world. So like, at least have some fun figuring out how
Gosh,
to.
Christy, you are speaking my language. I say that all the time. I'm like, you get one go round here. Have fun in your work life and in your business. Like, come on, people. I love that. I told you all listeners, this was going to be an awesome conversation. We kicked it off like that. I love this woman already. So in KPIs, like you said KPIs earlier, but work-life balance, that's a whole nother conversation. And I told you about our other podcast, Be She, which is all about being seen, being heard, being empowered. And I literally talk about that. Like, I'm a single mom, I have a business, and I'm juggling all the hats. And I stopped worrying about that work-life balance because it just didn't exist in my world. And every day I felt like I was failing because sometimes my kids needed me more. Sometimes my business needed me more. Sometimes I needed me more, like I have to take care of me. And so I created work-life grace, right? And you mentioned KPIs in your business. It's also important that you have KPIs for yourself. Like, what's, making sure that you understand you're not going to get it right 50% of the time is good, right? If you're 1 out of 2, ring that bell, celebrate, do your happy dance, because that is a really good, good percentage there. And I'm wanting to know how you do 50% because I'm not at 50%. And growth happens by failing and failing forward and taking that and not, sweeping, dusting your shoulder off and going, okay, that didn't work. Great. Now I know how to make it better, or like, let's tweak this to make it work. So you work with nonprofits, and I know I have nonprofits listening because I've interviewed people with nonprofits. So what are some of the biggest leadership challenges that, my notes, I have my notes for you. What are some of the biggest leadership challenges that nonprofits are facing today, and how can they overcome them from your experience?
Oh gosh, I think, right now, especially, right? The federal government taking whatever those funds are, delaying them, messing around with them, the deployment of those, I think have all of our nonprofit clients really shaking. And there's truth to it, right? The federal government was already behind in sending out these funds, but it's illegal for those nonprofits that are our front lines, that are social services, human focused, domestic violence, to actually turn people away. They can't. So not only in the nonprofit space, you are expected to take on the world's biggest problems. You are not allowed to say, nope, not today. And also, by the way, you're not going to get proper funding for it. So you have to do everything with nothing. And I think that is a hard thing to sign up for every day of the week, because you really have to see folks and our clients are across the sector. So we have a lot of social services, but we have faith-based institutions and charter schools and performing arts and museums and parks and recreation. And all of those clients have the same thing. They have really good intentions that they want to make the world a better place. But how do you do that when you have numerous vacancies? You can't recruit because the world moves too fast. You can't retain because it's a hard job to do day in and day out, and you don't have the resources. It's not like you're working at some of these big for-profit companies where you're like, great, well, we have bonuses to give out. Have that in this sector. You have the idea of going home and being like, okay, I'm making the world a better place, but that doesn't pay your rent every day. So that's a hard thing to sign up for. So you need true believers that really understand this is a passion project would be an understatement. So I think for a lot of our nonprofits, what I often say, and I think it's very true, they all think somehow that they're the only ones going through this. I'm the only one that has my audit behind. I'm the only one that doesn't have my funding vouchers out. I am the only one that can't keep people in the seats. And if I hear that once, I hear it 100 times a week. And so that's the thing that I say. I go, your sister organizations are having the same problem. Nobody actually has this figured out, let alone are executing on it well. And there are some that do, but there are so many more that don't. And when the federal funding slows and then your state and city funding gets slower, those are things that can be really hard to operate your business. And at the end of the day, these nonprofits are still a business, but their business is really helping people get through life. And so that can't be measured sometimes in KPIs and bottom lines and how much profit did you earn or how much money did you save, because in general, you're really just trying to help person A in front of you live tomorrow.
Right.
And I think that's like really big and amazing work.
Yeah, I was part of a nonprofit. I was executive director for Crime Stoppers in Palm Beach County here locally, and we received grants and through the state. And we would always say to the board, like, listen, in case this goes away or it gets decreased, we need to have funding coming in. And it's a catch-22 because we were a board of volunteers. It's not their day to day, and we're grateful to have them. So it's a matter of just constantly fundraising. So for you listening, if you're not running a nonprofit, if you're not that person and you have a company, I urge you, like, find a way to create some portion of give back. Find a nonprofit that you're really passionate about and that ties into your mission and your vision. One, it's going to help you, clients love that because they feel like they're contributing. So you're helping them to make a contribution as well. They feel good. It's a good win-win all around. And these nonprofits, they need the support because they don't always get the funding. And I know just from my personal experience, sometimes it's cut. They're expecting, they got this year, and then next year they're expecting that or more, and it's actually cut in half. So then they're like, okay, what do we do? And it's not easy to come up with new fundraisers and new events and get your community involved when other people in the world are struggling as well in the day to day, right? Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yes, go out, go sit on a board, go give money to your local shelter, go do something because the need is too great. And if you are blessed in this world of having enough, it is important to be able to share that. And I think Heidi, you make great points because from a financial business standpoint too, it also helps you. Yes. So there should be nothing that can stop you from going like, all right, let me make sure that I am doing my part too. Because they definitely need it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad we talked about this and got that in there because I think it's important and when it's not talked about enough. And now that was brought light to me to go, I get to share this out in the world more because, when we're in our day-to-day work life, we just don't think about that all the time. So thank you for sharing that with us. Question for you regarding growth, because we do have our audience in the podcast is all about business growth. So as you all have grown and evolved over the past years, and you've been with them, you said 6 years?
5 years, yeah.
5 years. What are some challenges? You don't have to name them all. Maybe there's one or two that you remember that were big or you're like stuck out in your mind. What are some challenges that you all have overcome during your growth and how did you overcome them?
Great. And I think one of them specifically is just who I am as a COO. I think I have a non-traditional path to getting to this position, as we said, but I'm not exactly a systems and process person. I'm not the person that goes, all right, let's start tracking this stuff in Excel. I'm a big action person. So in the 5 years that we've been here, it's about action. It's about growth. It's not about sitting and designing the system and then going out to sell it. It is selling it and then designing the system as we go. So I think what's most important about that is that you don't allow perfection to be the enemy of progress. And I think a lot of people let the idea that there is a perfect way to do them stop them from actually going out and selling your business. And I think that's been a big thing. So we've grown really fast. We've grown very quickly. And now we have to build the systems. We have to actually go out there and be like, okay, So I think for me, our biggest challenge is just who I am as a COO. Well, one of the biggest challenges, but I'll take that one myself. I come from a non-traditional background like we had talked about, but I'm not really a systems and processes person in the way of I'm going to approach a situation, go, all right, let me sit back and design what the steps and workflows would look like. For me, it's always been about growth, action. Let's do sales, let's do recruitment. What can we do to get bigger, to do better, to do all of these things? And so a lot of the challenges that we're now seeing is that we grew to this really big firm in a really short amount of time. So now our systems have to step up. They have to match what we're doing. So I would say every year, my job has looked differently. It has helped me hone and develop different skills than what I would have been. I say KPIs now, I say metrics now. I like all of these things I didn't say 5 years ago because it was really just how do I talk to more nonprofits? How do I help them get better accounting services? So now we are doing a lot of systems and processes. And today I would say to you, I am more of a systems and process person than I was 5 years ago. I understand the workflows. And because my communication is as high as it is, it's going, okay, these are the workflows that we have to do. Now let me talk to you about why I think these are the right ones. This isn't what you would think it would be the next steps. Great, so let's get in and adjust it, because it's not just me doing the work anymore. So I want to make sure our workflows really represent the company as a nimble, growing organism that is set out to deliver bolder promises to our clients.
So can you share with us, and I love what you said about perfection. So can you say that again? Because it was just, I was like, oh, I never heard it put that way. Perfection.
Yeah, perfectionism. So don't let perfectionism be the enemy of progress.
Yes.
Do not let it sit there and be like, there's a perfect way to do this. I have to roll it out perfectly. Don't do that, because it's actually in the process that you figure out what is perfect about it. I also think perfect is not the ideal. Like, that's not the thing we should be chasing. It is all about the journey, not the destination, if I wanted to get even more cliche about it. But don't sit there and every day go, let me design the process just a little bit more, because it actually is it's a hesitancy to actually roll it out. Trust yourself. Trust yourself that when you actually have this process and you're going to market, that you can adjust, that you can adapt, that you can actively listen to what your client is talking to you about, and then go, okay, I can either do that or I can't. Or what are the systems that I need to be able to do that? But trust yourself. It's not perfectionism that's going to get you there. It's really just you in the room day in and day out.
Yeah. And when you, as a leader, you're leading, I don't know how many people, you have a large team. So as a leader, if you're stuck in perfectionism, guess where your team is going to be too? And then nothing is happening in your company. So again, you get to lead by example and show them that you get to just do it. Let's, have, and like you said, the word fun, which is what I'm a big believer in. Yeah. It's not fun to be perfect. Perfect is boring. Nobody resonates with it, and you're not having any fun and freedom in the process. So question for you, Christy, when it comes to marketing, are there any marketing things, like how do people find you? First, who is your ideal client? Or do you work with all nonprofits, a specific base of nonprofits, and how do they find you? How do you reach out to them?
Sure, of course. So I think this is a great example because it's actually going to tie both of your questions, because right now we're a huge referral. Nonprofits in general, and I'm sure every industry will tell you this, but nonprofits in general are relationship based. They want to make sure that before they actually enter into a contract with you, that you know them, that you actually understand what nonprofit life is about. And that's, like we had talked about, is very starkly different than working in the for-profit sector. So they want to make sure that you know them. They are also very slow to trust because they are really trying to balance a whole lot of things and don't have a lot of resources to be able to sit there and say, let's waste $50,000 trying to figure out if this is something we should do or not. And then if it's all relational and it's all referrals, our next challenge is we're hiring our sales director, our first sales director for the first time, because right now it's been me and the founder doing all of the sales, and then now me and the team also doing all of the sales. So we're going to go out and hire our first sales director, which is where I have learned so many acronyms about outbound versus inbound, lead generation, nurturing, funnel reports, all of these things that I cannot wait for somebody else to be responsible for. So I think that's our next strategy, is saying, how do we not change, because that denotes that we should be not focusing on referrals, but how do we heighten how to get in front of our nonprofit clients? We work with all nonprofits. We have clients here in in New York. We have clients in LA. We have them across the country, from small Midwest ones to really large coastal city ones. And I think it's important to be able to talk to nonprofits and say, yeah, I get it. I understand, because I have other clients like you too. So the sales director has to also be from the nonprofit sector, because they can't go in there and sales it up. It has to be relationship. So that's going to be a balance of like finding the right person that can speak to this authentically without turning anybody off, because it's a small sandbox.
Yeah. Sales can be really done, if it's done well, it's highly effective. But again, many, depending on the sales team, some people want the quick win, and this is more relationship based and it takes time. to nurture and build that communication and those relationships. So my next question for you, and I want to wrap up because I know that I don't want to keep you over, but I'm loving our conversation. If I could hand you a magic wand, Christy, and say, you know what, if you could wave it and poof, take away one issue that you're having right now, what's that one most important issue?
And that's funding for our clients.
Yeah.
In all honesty, like they're having a really hard time. And so these necessary services that they need to run their business correctly, they can't because they're so scared that the federal government is changing so much of their revenue stream that they're not going to be able to provide the services that they are now. And so for me, I think it is very much a client base of like, leave the funding alone. Let them help the people that they're supposed to. So that way I can help them make sure that they're running efficiently, that they have the right resources when they need them, that they have the right people to turn to make better strategic decisions. But they can't do what they're tasked to do effectively if we're also starving out their revenue.
Yeah. Last question, final question. If we could come back in a year and sit down together again, which I hope we do, what would success look like for you and the company?
I think for me that it's more internal build out. It's a more infrastructure. I think we have the ability to grow very big and to be able to help a lot of clients. But success for me will look like less of a startup and hey, we're going to figure this out, and a lot more of a, okay, we have the infrastructure needed. So that way, when we are out there selling, that we are properly doing the engagement, because I want our clients to feel like we have everything together, because that's important. But I also want our people to feel like, hey, I understand what my expectations are. I understand what it is to work here. And right now it is just all hands on deck at any given time. And I love the team spirit of that. But I also want our folks to feel even more stable and feel like, okay, I understand this, and now let me get to the work.
Amazing. So can you share with us, Christy, how people, our listeners, can connect with you?
Sure, of course. So obviously I'm on LinkedIn, Christy Hamilton, but you can also find me through our company website, which is teamcarey, CAREY.com. You can go there and see all of our services. You can see our folks and get a good sense of like all of the things that we do. So if you are a nonprofit looking for back office services, please take a look. We have a lot of fantastic resources there too. And that's an easy way to find me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christy. So if you're a nonprofit and you need these services, reach out to Christy, connect with her. You can go to LinkedIn. You can also go to teamcarey.com, and it's spelled TEAM for team, and then CAREY.com, and it's Carey & Co. And if you're listening and you're not a nonprofit, please take a look and find a nonprofit that you are passionate about and make a plan. Add this to your strategy for your business where you're supporting, whether it's a local one or a nationwide. Find one that you are really resonate with and is part of your vision and makes you happy to support, and go support them. Make a commitment to do that, because everyone out there, all the nonprofits need your support right now, because it's not stopping. The animals are still showing up. The people are still, the domestic violence victims are still showing up on the front doors. They still need support. The hungry still need food. Clothing still needs to be found. Like, there's so much need out there, and I'm just, kids need to be found. There's so many things out there that we can be supporting, and let's make that a big mission. Please, if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment for Christy below, and let us know which nonprofit you're going to support or are supporting. Share the love so other people can go, oh, I want to support that one too. And it starts with you. So be the change that you want to make in the world. And it starts with you stepping up and being a leader in that space. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, your favorite podcast platform, please leave us a review, a 5-star if you loved it. And also share this episode, share Christy with people who you know, so we can spread the word, share her knowledge and her expertise, and help more organizations, nonprofits out there. So, Christy, is there anything else you'd like to share that I didn't get to ask you or talk about?
No, I love all of that. Go do it. Go be that change. Go do it now. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being on here. Thank you for listening and being with us on the Business Growth Spotlight. If you have a company and you're looking to grow your visibility and you're like, I feel like I'm doing all the things and I'm not gaining any traction, then please go grab our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. It's free and you can download it at spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint. Also, don't forget, reach out to Christy on LinkedIn, go to teamcarry.com, and also share with us the nonprofit that you're going to support or are supporting. And thank you for listening to Christy and I today on the Business Growth Spotlight. We will see you on the next episode.